Alrighty. Going a bit blingy these days. Oh, the junk you buy off eBay, hey? I want to talk a little bit about this whole Twitter poison pill thing that they're trying on Elon. And a couple of other interesting facts about Twitter. And also, a guy I knew years back, like I was, shit, I think I met him when I was like 17. Sort of through another guy who I used to work for. And he was basically had a company that was more or less a scam that ran much the way this whole Twitter poison pill thing's running. Long and short of it is the board of Twitter is less than 0.1% of the ownership, except for Jack Dorsey, who I think's got 2%. And of course, you got Elon, who's, whatever, I've heard everything from 9.2 to 10% to 14.9%. Who knows how much he owns. He's also got on board with Morgan Stanley. Between the two of them, they're going to own about 24%, something like this. If it all happens. It may well not happen because the majority owner, God, the hypocrisy is just bloody unbelievable with all. The majority owner is a Saudi prince who reckons it's going to be worth more. People are crapping on about, the obvious ad revenue of Twitter. No, there is none. This has been a problem with Twitter for a long time, is that they're not like YouTube where they actually have ad revenue. They said this was a problem, I remember 4 years ago, that they've got to change things so they can become profitable because each year they're losing money because they're not running ads. So they've got to work out how to somehow overlay ads into one, so maybe the old one stops work and forces you to upgrade to the new app. You install the new app and it's got ads in it type thing, which is exactly what they've done with YouTube originally. The ads would only be on a computer, but the app wouldn't have ads. And then they force you to upgrade. You couldn't even start the damn thing without upgrading. And of course you got the version that had to have the ads. So, long and short of it is, this Saudi prince is majority shareholder, and he reckons the value of it's going to go up, blah, 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 so he doesn't want to sell it to Elon. But the strange thing with all of this is everybody quacking and squealing that it shouldn't be under the control of one person, a platform so big. Okay. What's Twitter got again? Is it 300 million people on the Twitter platform? Facebook is majority controlled, although I don't know how much he's still running it, but he still has a hell of a say in it. It's majority owned and majority controlled by one person, Mark Zuckerberg. It has 2.5 billion users. That's fine, but heaven forbid 300 million users is controlled by Elon Musk, one guy. And then you look at that one guy who owns the majority of it, is a Saudi prince who controls what goes on his own TV, or there's some prince, some of the royal family are involved in controlling exactly what can be shown on Saudi TV. This is a country where they deliberately oppress any women's rights protest. They have people's phones tracked, hacked on a regular basis. They go and shut down social media for any of these women's rights girls who, for a long time, were just pushing for the woman's right to drive a car. We're not talking about any mad feminist agenda, we're just talking about the ability to drive a car. They've now finally got that right. But anyway, this country, as of 10, 15 years ago, was still literally chopping people's heads off with swords. And and they're worried about the fact that there might not be freedom of speech or the right thing with Elon Musk, because there might be oppression of it. The majority shareholder is involved in media oppression in his own bloody country. And suppression of feminism. That's not even real feminism. It's like basic women's rights in his own country. The hypocrisy. Anyway, onto this other guy. Basically, the long and short of it was this guy I used to know was killing this company. He had two other business partners originally. Some of them wanted money, and he would continue to work for shares. And at night he would do trading, share trading on the US market, and that's where he'd get his actual cash from. But during the day, he would work at his company and only be paid in shares. In this, his company managed to have a couple of the other two business partners that were originally with him. One of them invented the technology, another one was instrumental in other stuff. And the long and short of it is the company had patents, but he would keep earning shares. In the end, he had far more shares than the other two guys combined, so he booted them out of the company. Then when the inventor started another company basically making the same technology that this guy's company had patented originally, then this guy that I knew, and I sort of basically come across the other inventor as well, his company was suing the guy who invented the damn technology for stealing the technology that he now owned the patent on. Because when this guy had made it, it was patented by the actual company that this guy was now majority shareholder of. He would have investors come in. These people, now you got to realise this is the late 90s. This is like 98, 99, all this is going on. These people would dump in $100,000, $120,000, $150,000. These are fairly rich people. They would invest that, some of the, this was the majority of their savings. They would dump that money in. They would become majority shareholders. They would own 51% as a result, or they basically had controlling share. This guy would ignore, brush him off, lip service, we're getting to it, we're going to deal with, we're working on it, I've asked him but he hasn't asked me back yet, we're getting to it, we've got bigger fish to fry right now, but I'm listening to you. Until he got 51% shares, because he was constantly building up shares, so he would have 51%. So it would water the value of their investment down so that they were no longer the majority shareholder and they no longer had the ability to tell him what to do. At which point they'd have a meeting and say, we want to replace you. We don't think that you're going to, you're not listening to us. You're not running this place properly. So we're fine that you're a shareholder, but we think we need another manager. At which point he would pull out all the stuff and say, I am now majority shareholder. I do not have to listen to you. These people that have invested their life savings to hear this shit, to hear that whatever they said was null and void, and they're not making any profit on their $150,000. This is honestly what this guy has said to them. This guy was getting death threats left and right all the fucking time, because he had several others come in and do the same thing. Because the company could have been bought, what it was sort of a fad that lasted about 10, 15 years. And with the right marketing and sales, it could have really been bought to something big. It wasn't, because dumbass didn't even want to print colour brochures. He just wanted to print stuff off a photocopier built in 1993 and just make these blurry black and white shit things in the hand. And the sales manager's going, this is fucked. We can't handle these out. And then long and short of it is that basically I actually went with someone to a radio station with a sales manager, and we struck a deal there, or the sales manager did, to get ads run on this radio station. And the fact is that basically, as soon as we got back, this dick had cancelled it. And there was just nothing. And he was telling this guy, take this place to the moon. What do you mean you need rocket fuel? It was so fucked, it was unbelievable. This guy was basically just burning up investors' money, running this place into the ground, and he would keep becoming a majority shareholder again and again, because he put himself on some fairly bloody substantial rate, because he's the manager, so he deserves to manage his ways, and then pay himself in shares. And he would just continuously, and he had all these people, that so many death threats at night. he used to say, "Oh, I tend to get more on a full moon," and he would joke about these death threats like it was nothing. And it's like, dude, you've stolen hundreds of thousands of people, like hundreds of thousands of dollars off people, to just drive it into the ground. You haven't wasted it on Mercedes Benzes and fucking prostitutes or anything like that. But you're just driving this place into the ground, and you're just like, no wonder you got people pissed off with you. You're just deliberately malinvesting it, And anyway, he's about nursing home age now, I'd say. This was, like I said, about 98, 99. 24 years ago. You couldn't make this up. How the fuck can I remember dealing with the business people 24 years ago? Guy was a millionaire, He had quite a prominent house. Single all his life. But anyway, this is some of these stunts that these people who are knowledgeable with all this company structures end up doing to people. And that is how it goes.